it is now time for me to introduce our supervisor. And I'm going to go off script, but that's the problem that happens when you ask me to speak. But I'm going to tell you just a quick story, which is the truth. I met our town supervisor in 2021. I was elected mayor in March of 2021, and Jen was running for town supervisor the same year. And Jen started showing up at our events. And we had a conversation. And she said to me, "Tell me about New Hyde Park." And I proceeded to do that. And I proceeded to tell her that we're going to be running a lot more events. And if I had any advice, it would be present. Be present. Because New Hyde Park, over the years, since Mike Tully, New Hyde Park felt that they were the forgotten community. And I'm not saying whether that's true or not true. I'm just telling you what the perception was of my residents, that we were the forgotten community. And what transpired is there developed a feeling that south of Northern Boulevard didn't matter over the years. I had nothing to do with it. I was not mayor before 2021. But that's what the perception was. And then perception becomes reality sometimes, correct? It does. But we had to look no further, and I said to Jen, look no further than Michael J. Tully Jr. Park, the crown jewel of our park system in New Hyde Park. I can tell you when it was built. It was built on a landfill. And when it was built, we were so prideful in New Hyde Park, so prideful. My father went and swam at the pool every single day. I was in Maryland Little League, and we get the schedule, and we look at the schedule to see when are we playing at Tully, because we felt like we were playing on the big stage. And there were lights. You could play under the lights. Can you imagine 10, 11, 12 years old playing under the lights? It was unbelievable. Everybody felt that way. They put the stadium in the football games and soccer games. It was awesome. We played basketball. It was fantastic. But something happened along the way, over decades. It fell into disrepair. It simply started falling apart. And it's right across the street from New Hyde Park Memorial High School. So all the parents would drive up, drop their kids off, and see the condition of Tully Park. Tully Park was also, we had a racing strip for the fire department so they could train. And we had fire department drills there. I was in the fire department. We had softball tournaments at Tully Park because you wanted Tully Park. When you tell somebody you're from New Hyde Park and they'd say, "Oh, yeah, Umberto's in Tully Park." Yeah, absolutely. And it was named after our own son, Michael J. Tully Jr. He was one of us. He was from New Hyde Park. We were so proud. And as it deteriorated over the decades, it became something, a source of pride, to a complete and utter eyesore. It was embarrassing. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who didn't go there, the parking lot started to disintegrate. And what the response was at the time was to just close off portions of the parking lot rather than address the issue. And that's how perception became reality. So I said to Jen, "Jen, you got a lot of work ahead of you. These people aren't going to believe a politician, that you're going to change things. We're simply not going to believe it. You got to be present. You got to show these people what the situation is." And I'm telling you right now, over the last 5 years, Jen has been to more events in New Hyde Park than I have. And I'm the mayor. And Jen would interact with members of the public. And I'm a pretty blunt guy. I would say to Jen, "Jen, that guy's insufferable. Don't waste your time." And Jen would engage that person. Sometimes she'd tell me I'm right, but she would engage that person. And people began to believe, you know what? We can trust Jen. She knows how we feel. She's there and she's speaking to us, not only in words, but in actions. Because she started to address Tully Park. Tully Park was becoming the dump that it was before the park was built. And she and her administration changed that. And they put in new pickleball courts, new dog park, new playground. They fixed the drainage situation, fixed the fire department racing strip. So much so that today, current day, We're about to open a park next month in New Hyde Park. And my residents are now saying, geez, I hope the dog park's as nice as Tully Park. I hope the playground's as nice as Tully Park. I hope the dog park is as nice as Tully Park. And I say to them, oh, I appreciate that. I don't have your budget, but I appreciate that. That's how things have changed. And then one last story about how things have changed. One last story. About 4 months ago, I get a call on my phone, an email, 6:31 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And a resident says, there's a tree down. It's now blocking my driveway and blocking the road. 6:31 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I'm on the block at 6:33 a.m. Right? I'm on the block. At 6:34 a.m., I'm FaceTiming the head of my building department, Igor, and showing him the situation. At 6:35 a.m., he's reached out to a crew to come in on overtime who will be there at 7:15 a.m. to deal with the issue. Now, I detest bureaucratic inertia. I detest it. And I love efficiency. And when I went marching up that stoop, I felt pretty good about myself. And I rang the doorbell, and the person said to me, hey, Mayor, good morning. I said, good morning. I said, I just want to tell you, and I just recited what I just did. We'll have guys here at 7:15. You'll be able to get out by 9 o'clock. And she said, you know what? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I was going to call the town. But I know she's really busy. And we absolutely love Jen. And I actually told Jen that story. A couple of things with that. I guess I'm glad Jen didn't have to be woken up that morning, and I did. Good for Jen. I would have appreciated some of that love since I was at the door at 6:35 a.m. But the point of the story is this. This is our community that in 5 years has gone from complete cynicism about what the town can do for it to referring to the supervisor as Jen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can't buy that type of goodwill. You simply can't buy it. You can't buy it as far as campaign literature is concerned, and you can't buy it just by doing a photo op and a flyby. You do it by your words, you do it by being present, but you do it by your actions. And I have to tell you, if you ever come, and you're all invited, St. Patrick's Day Parade next Saturday, come and see the reception our supervisor gets. Because of the work that she did, the person that she is. And right now, there has never been more hope, more confidence in a town supervisor since Michael Tully. And on behalf of the village of New Hyde Park and our New Hyde Park community, we thank you and your administration. It's Mary Jo, Raggany, Dennis, the entire board, for what you've done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored, I am privileged to introduce my supervisor, Jennifer DeSena.
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor asked me if he could tell a story. I didn't expect him to tell 3 and to go on and on. But I did take that gamble when I asked you to come back and MC again. But thank you very much. You're really very, very kind. And thank you to Rabbi Pearl and Sharon and Eric for helping us get started this morning. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us at our town's beautifully renovated Harbor Length Golf Course. Not a bad office for the morning, right? If all government meetings were held with a view like this, I promise you attendance would skyrocket. This is my 5th State of the Town address as your supervisor, part of a tradition that spans more than 40 years in North Hempstead. Each year, we reflect on where we've been and where we're going. And that really captures who we are as a town in 2026. We are marking America's 250th birthday with one foot grounded in our history and one firmly toward the future. From our historic cemetery to our cutting-edge robots, we honor the past while innovating for our future. And it's especially meaningful that we gather during Women's History Month. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us and opened doors so that others might walk through. Today in North Hempstead, we have more women commissioners than ever before, and I'm grateful to work with them each day. Before I begin, a few thank yous to our Commissioner of Community Services and Services for the Aging, Kimberly Corcoran-Galante. This event comes together largely because of her efforts and those of her outstanding team. And if you have any complaints, please let Kim know. Thank you to LPGA professional Kelly Brook, the first female director of golf at Harbor Links. And thank you to her team for hosting us this morning. Thank you to my colleagues in town government, our receiver of taxes, Mary Jo Collins, who happened to have planned a vacation and is missing us today, our town clerk, Ragini Srivastava, and council members Robert Troiano, Ed Scott, Dennis Walsh, Christine Liu, and Marianne Del Monte. And please join me. Now please join me in welcoming Yaron Levy, our newest council member who won his district with an impressive 72% of the vote. That's not just a victory, that's a mandate. And I'd be remiss if I did not thank our former councilman, Dave Adami, for his service. If you've ever attended or watched a town board meeting, you know meetings in North Hempstead are occasionally loud. But I assure you that in a democracy, tension is not a flaw, it's a feature. There are many other public officials here today whose partnership makes our work possible, because no town and no town supervisor operates alone. I'm going to welcome them, but please hold your applause till the end. On behalf of State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli, Joseph Galante, oh yeah, we're holding. I almost broke my own rule. On behalf of County Executive Bruce Blakeman, Matthew Dono, County Controller Elaine Phillips, Mayor Hagenson, Mayor Parente, Mayor Popolesky, Mayor Devane, Mayor Rosica, Mayor Dono, Mayor Weitzner, and Mayor Airbar. And if anyone else snuck in after this list was delivered to me, please let me know so I can recognize you. Okay, but thank you. Let's have a round of applause for my colleagues. I'd also like to recognize our first responders whose quiet courage and selflessness define what it means to be a public servant. They show up on the hardest days so the rest of us can have better ones. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank the workforce of North Hempstead, our commissioners, staff, and union members of CSEA Local 7555, led by President Tom McDonough. You are the living and breathing heart of this community, and we are grateful that you beat so strongly. And I want to add a special shout out to all of our teams who went above and beyond during the recent snowstorms. They worked tirelessly to keep our roads and our residents safe. As we look ahead, we do so at an historic moment. This 250th anniversary of our nation's founding is a reminder that our democracy didn't begin in distant capitals, but in towns like ours, where everyday people stood up, spoke out, and shaped their own future. Many don't realize that North Hempstead itself was born of that spirit. Once under the reign of King George, local farmers voiced their defiance. In September 1775, they risked their lives by signing their own declaration in support of the revolutionary cause. As we honor that legacy, we must carry that same spirit forward by strengthening local government, listening to one another, and upholding the values of liberty, opportunity, fairness, and limited government. In that light, I remain committed to a town government rooted in the will of its citizens, transparent, accountable, and a careful steward of your tax dollars. That means maintaining infrastructure and delivering services while ensuring that you can work, build a business, and raise your family without unnecessary burdens. We all know that the cost of living continues to rise, but saving, buying a home, raising a family, these are not luxuries. They are the foundation of the American dream, and protecting that dream is this town's top priority. When I first stood here in 2022, people warned me not to promise lower taxes. This town hadn't seen a reduction in nearly 3 decades. But I said it anyway, and I meant it. I've kept that promise, not once, not twice, but for 3 consecutive years. And this past year, we delivered a full tax freeze, giving residents 4 uninterrupted years of tax relief, a total reduction of nearly 22%. Naysayers claimed we had to choose between fiscal responsibility and services. We rejected that entirely. With smart, disciplined government, residents can indeed have both. That outlook continues to earn us recognition. Just last month, the Wall Street bond rating agency Moody's Investor Service again awarded us their AAA bond rating. This is their highest rating, and it reflects the town's strong reserves and large and diverse tax base. Even more notable was the recognition of our strong fiscal government and our commitment to using technology to streamline services. Lest there be any confusion, none of this is an accident, because that AAA is much more than a bond rating. It's a North Hempstead mindset. So, how do we accomplish what so few others can do? For your answer, I refer you to philosopher Voltaire, who wrote, "No problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking." That principle guides my administration, top to bottom, solving problems, doing more with less, and then doing it better. After the American Revolution, when Alexander Hamilton looked at a young, fragile nation drowning in debt, he didn't say government couldn't work. He didn't settle for patchwork fixes. He built a financial system that created stability and growth. That's what government innovation looks like. New ideas that deliver lasting results. Today, this administration honors that legacy and turns challenge into opportunity. For example, last year I announced we would implement a one-time separation incentive for long-time employees. Developed with our union, the program was fair and mutually beneficial. It offered financial security to those considering retirement while reducing payroll and creating opportunities for new hires and promotions. 23 employees participated, delivering more than $500,000 a year in savings for taxpayers. That's how new strategies deliver ongoing results. Look around this room or out the window at this magnificent golf course. Harbor Links, our town's only municipal course, had long been an overlooked asset. For an inexplicable 26 years, the town extended the same agreement, paying $200,000 annually to the same management firm, covering all the expenses, and earning just $400,000 a year in profit, completely ignoring potential for taxpayers. So change became my priority. In 2025, we replaced it with an agreement with Brook Holdings LLC, founded by Kelly, who I introduced earlier. They now assume all operating costs and liability, pay rent to the town, and share profits. The deal guarantees at least $750,000 a year, with increases projected to exceed $18 million over the term. And we've already exceeded expectations for our first year, on target for $950,000. They also invested nearly $2 million in improvements, a new driving range with in-range technology, rebuilt cart paths, 2 new restaurants, and a beautifully renovated clubhouse. We're even one of the few courses in the world where robots deliver refreshments. All this while increasing accessibility, more residents playing here than ever. Again, innovation, making government work smarter. The same approach is being applied to the safety of our children. Too many drivers were illegally passing stopped school buses, putting young lives at risk. So we implemented Bus Patrol, an electronic enforcement system that holds reckless drivers accountable. It's smart, automatic enforcement. It works 24/7. It removes confrontation. It supports our police. And most important, it's changing driver behavior. Violations are down, awareness is up, and our roads are safer. Our children are safer. And while the goal was never revenue, the program has generated more than $2 million that we're reinvesting in the town. You see, this is what good government looks like: protecting our children, using technology, and delivering results without raising taxes. But why do we obsess over town finances? Because revenue isn't the finish line, it's the foundation. Every dollar we generate or save is reinvested. Every dollar spent wisely, every tough choice made, lays the foundation for a town that people don't have to leave, a place that families can call home for generations. This is hometown pride. This is American self-reliance. Now let me tell you what that looks like in real time. After 24 years of unacceptable delays, we finally constructed North Hempstead's 9/11 Memorial in Valley Park, and it's beautiful. The $500,000 project began last May and was unveiled for the 24th anniversary of the attacks this past September. A semicircular black granite wall made up of 11 engraved panels surrounds a steel beam recovered from Ground Zero. 8 of those panels are inscribed with the names of town residents who perished in the terror attacks. End panels will bear the names of residents who succumbed to 9/11 related illnesses. The center panel bears the town's logo and the powerful inscription: "What we call resilience is often the quiet courage of ordinary people who refuse to be defeated." That resilience is not passive. That's why we've taken a critical look at our everyday responsibilities, the projects that don't command headlines but cannot be ignored. At last year's State of the Town, I shared a sobering reality. North Hempstead maintains nearly 300 miles of roadway, yet for years, we repaved an average of just 8 miles annually. But under the able management of Commissioners Jerry Lasquadro and Kristen Selesky, we made amazing progress, increasing that average to more than 20 miles per year. And we're not stopping there. We are working to repave an ambitious 40 miles this go-round, more than 5 times the old average. That represents a record investment of nearly $6 million in our infrastructure, and we're prioritizing the roads that are in the worst condition. This year, North Hempstead will implement Pavement Control Index, PCI surveys, a system developed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. PCI technology objectively evaluates road conditions, eliminating guesswork and political bickering. With data guiding our decisions, we'll make repairs more strategic, efficient, and cost-effective. Again, innovation that makes a difference. Of course, paving is just part of the picture. We must also address the larger, more complex projects that connect our communities to the broader region. For nearly 15 years, one of those challenges sat ignored. A stretch of Bayview Avenue along Manhasset Bay was severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy in 2012, and the road shoulder bordering the bay endured a decade of structural erosion, undermining the road's integrity and long-term stability. Using a partial grant from FEMA, we took it head on, stabilizing 700 linear feet of shoreline. We not only repaired existing damage, but we fortified the road against any future storms. Our commitment didn't stop there. Working with the MTA, the 127-year-old Webster Avenue Bridge in Manhasset has now been completely rebuilt. This $28 million investment strengthens a vital crossing and improves reliability for Long Island Railroad commuters across the region. Yet another project, decades in the making, now finally delivered. Projects of this magnitude protect the backbone of our transportation network, but we also modernize the road system that we rely on every night by jump-starting our LED streetlight conversion project, which had also been stalled for years. Instead of allowing it to sit on the shelf any longer, we invested $1 million this year and moved ahead at record speed. In just 6 months, we replaced more fixtures than we had in the last decade. The result? A 60% reduction in energy consumption, lower emissions, safer roads for everyone, and 20-year fixtures that significantly reduce maintenance costs. In my administration, good ideas don't sit in binders. They become results that people can actually see. And we don't skip the little details. Things like new vintage-style black poles and crisp white-lettered street signs for Albertson Downs, spearheaded by Councilman Scott and funded by a grant from County Legislator Scott Strauss. This initiative marks the beginning of a broader beautification effort. Thank you, Councilman Scott, for going that extra mile. Now let's turn our attention to something a little more fun, what I call our Parks Renaissance. You remember the long overdue transformation of Tully Park in New Hyde Park? After 30 years of temporary fixes that never addressed larger problems, we took action. We renovated tennis courts, added pickleball courts, resurfaced the track and field, fully reconstructed the parking lots and walkways to resolve decades of settling. We also improved lighting, landscaping, and fencing, and rebuilt the training area for local fire departments at no cost to them. And here's the best part. We finished early and under budget. That's smart government. That $5 million renovation ignited our parks renaissance, and now improvements are underway across North Hempstead. Let me give you a quick snapshot. 4 of our fields at Fushillo, 8th and Asbury, and 2 at Camerer were transformed from natural clay to synthetic turf. That means everything from excavation and irrigation to new turf, concrete bases, portable mounds, fencing, and topsoil. We also renovated dugouts and backstops. Camerer Park got corrugated roof shades, while Fushillo received a new batting cage and bleachers. And we didn't forget our furry friends. At Tully Dog Park, we expanded the synthetic turf area, giving dogs even more room to play. Again, by leveraging federal funding, we did all this while easing the burden on local taxpayers. But there's more. There's more. New amenities are popping up everywhere. A beautiful clock at Blumenfeld Park in conjunction with the Port Washington bid. LED walkway lights at multiple parks. New backboards at Alvin Petrus Park thanks to a generous resident. And new playground equipment at Shepherd Lane Park. We even replaced the steam generators for both the men's and women's rooms at Tully Park. And all this is just a glimpse. Every project is about making our parks safer, more accessible, and more fun. Just ask Councilman Dennis Walsh, who spearheaded work and helped cut the ribbon this past July at Broadway Park in Garden City Park. This beloved space has been serving the neighborhood since 1971, but over time, the neglected playground and equipment had grown worn and outdated. Thanks in part to funding from the Long Island Railroad, the town seized the opportunity to modernize the park. Today, it boasts new spray pads, playground equipment, seating and rest areas, landscaping, fencing, and LED lighting. Thank you to Councilman Walsh for helping us turn this park into a place worth playing in. Another park turnaround that had been stalled for years, the Hicks Bridge and Memorial Center at Gary Pond Park in Roslyn. It started when the Gary Charitable Trust provided a grant for reproducing the missing 28-inch bronze plaque in 2017. But because the bridge itself needed restoration, that new medallion sat in storage, essentially collecting dust in an office, while work was delayed. Well, we dusted off those plans and gave Hicks Bridge the renovation it deserved. That included rebuilding walks, repairing stonework, and installing new railings and sidewalks. We were joined for the ribbon cutting there by the Roslyn Landmark Society and the Hicks family, who originally built that bridge. North Hempstead is rich in history, and preserving these treasures for future generations helps keep our story alive. Of course, there are less glamorous things. The town dock restrooms in Port Washington got a full makeover, proof that even bathrooms deserve a little TLC. As you can see, projects that were shelved for years are getting a new lease on life under my administration, and we're tackling them more intelligently, getting better value on every investment we make. Take, for example, the planned installation of new EV charging stations across North Hempstead, which had always been talk but never action. Our town recently approved a contract to place 58 stations at town parking lots and parks throughout town. And the best part, you know I love it, the town will receive 91 cents of every revenue dollar from station usage, a far better deal than previous contracts. There's just no bones about it. Every dollar earned is one less we need to raise in taxes. We're through with lip service. We're making things happen. Like the old GE commercial, we bring good things to life. Now imagine doing all of these things while cutting your taxes 22%. Our progress echoes the enduring American story. Neighbors working side by side, solving problems, and building something for the next generation. In that spirit, let me share what lies ahead. I begin with the biggest news this town has seen in a very long time. This year, North Hempstead will break ground on a $20 million renovation of Town Dock in Port Washington. We've secured permits from New York State, and the Army Corps of Engineers gave us the green light. Now it's go time. You may recall our dock was badly damaged by Hurricane Sandy in 2012, and was left to deteriorate over the years. But now we have the federal and state funding to rebuild it better than ever. A taller, stronger bulkhead to protect the waterfront, sloped erosion barriers to absorb waves, upgraded gangways, sidewalks, security, irrigation, lights, and benches, underground utilities protected from storms, rain gardens that manage stormwater and support wildlife, and more space for community events. This is a once-in-a-generation public works project, the likes this town hasn't seen since the New Deal. Our town dock will be a destination for all of Long Island. And special thanks to U.S. Senator Schumer, who helped us receive those federal funds for the dock and has delivered on my request for another key item in our long-term capital plan, the gray water irrigation project with a $3 million federal grant. Last year, I explained that this facility right here uses 36 million gallons of water per year, making North Hempstead one of the largest water consumers in the district. But this innovative system will capture stormwater and use it to irrigate the course instead, decreasing freshwater consumption by millions of gallons while protecting our delicate aquifers. Best of all, you already know what I'm going to say, it will save us money. I can proudly report that we are ready to start phase 1 of construction, designing the special pumps that will be the heart of our gray water system. Talk about forward-thinking government. Now let's move across the peninsula to Hempstead Bay for a capital plan project that may rival our town dock. North Hempstead Beach Park, still affectionately known as Bar Beach. A bold multi-year plan will restore the shoreline, protect Hempstead Harbor, and create a vibrant year-round waterfront. Visitors can expect an expanded promenade, enhanced recreational areas, and potential year-round dining, all designed to highlight the park's natural beauty. Our resilient design strategies will restore the shoreline, expand wildlife habitat, and protect our wetlands. We are currently advancing the first 3 major components of this project. With the DEC permit in hand for a new wave attenuator to reduce erosion, we have issued an RFP to complete design before bidding. Second, we have already hired an engineering firm to design a new bulkhead, aiming for permits by year's end. Third, we are issuing an RFP to assess the park's utilities infrastructure, ensuring water and sewer systems can fully support our plans. We know that before you invest time and money in building anything, you must first ensure a solid foundation. Again, rather than chasing splashy announcements, we choose steady execution over empty promises, advancing step by step and project by project. And our progress doesn't end at the water's edge. We're moving full speed ahead on infrastructure all over town. In close partnership with Nassau County, we are now advancing the long-anticipated Westbury Avenue project in Carl Place. Together, we will reconstruct sidewalks, curbs, roadways, and even drainage to enhance safety and ADA accessibility. Moreover, we are creating a pedestrian-friendly streetscape for residents and businesses. Our final plans have been submitted, and we now expect the bulk of the work to be completed in 2026. Again, here we used a combination of federal, town, and county funding. This is the kind of collaboration our residents deserve. Now let's turn north to another key capital project, the Carlton Avenue retaining wall in Port Washington. This initiative will repair and reinforce the existing wall and stabilize the roadway. Engineering designs are complete, funding has been secured, and the project will soon go out to bid, with construction expected to wrap up by year's end. Here's the thing. Engineering may not always be glamorous. It's detailed, methodical, and behind-the-scenes work. But it's that kind of careful, deliberate effort that gets things done. In many ways, it embodies our North Hempstead strategy. Preserve what works, reinforce what is vulnerable, and plan for the future. But get the job done right the first time. We apply the same approach to our parks. There's more there than I could list in one breath, but I'll give it the old college try. We are converting the handball courts at Broadway and Whitney Park into pickleball courts, upgrading the pond system at Clark Gardens, installing a new playground at the 8th and Asbury Ball Field, and installing new HVAC components at Tully Park. Meanwhile, our brand new shade structures at Tully Dog Park will be ready by the end of this month, so our four-legged friends can chill in style without turning into hot dogs. You like hot dogs? And yes, we're fixing the perpetually leaking kiddie pool at Clinton G. Martin. It's been leaking since it opened in 2017, like it had something to prove. Since that time, the frustrating cycle has been the same. The pool leaks, it's patched. The pool leaks again, and it costs taxpayers each and every time. Not to mention the tremendous waste of water. Kicking the can down the road never works, so we're doing it our way, the right way, installing an entirely new liner to fix the problem once and for all. And while all of these are important, a town requires a vision for the future. I've said it since my first inauguration that our town needed to update its master plan, which, believe it or not, hasn't been touched since 1989. So today, I'm pleased to announce that after months of preparation, we will be issuing an RFP for consulting services in the coming weeks. The first step in updating our comprehensive master plan. This will help us preserve our neighborhoods, guide development wisely, and coordinate all our departments to work toward the same goals. All of this is fantastic news, but we know that a town is more than plans and policies. It's about people, and making government work better for them has been our mission. Take the North Hempstead Buildings Department. Once the cloud hanging over Town Hall, now a story of reform and results. For years, systemic issues frustrated residents despite the dedication of hardworking staff. But using an 84-page audit from Nassau County Controller Elaine Phillips as a roadmap, I launched sweeping changes to restore trust and efficiency. We established a direct helpline and an open door policy so homeowners and contractors could meet staff before submitting plans. Inspectors now rotate areas, staff are cross-trained, and decades of paper records are being digitized. We even bring the department directly to our neighborhoods, hosting regular workshops to make guidance more accessible than ever. The result? Residents and businesses are reporting that for the first time in many years, they can get live help when they need it. From liability to a model of accountability, the department is thriving, and we're just getting started. Last week, Kyle Strober of Association for Better Long Island and Michael Florio of Long Island Builders Institute helped us unveil OpenGov, industry-leading software used by municipalities across New York that streamlines operations, improves communication, and puts residents first. Hats off to Commissioner Haramis and the building department staff who have embraced change for taking us from headache to hope. While there is more to be done, The department's transformation shows what happens when accountability meets innovation. I also want to take a moment to recognize and express gratitude to our IT team, our unsung heroes. So many of the improvements I have reported to you today rely on their ability to painstakingly integrate new technology for the town. Thank you. And speaking of bright spots, let me highlight one of the town's true treasures, Project Independence, the unique town-wide program that helps seniors and residents with disabilities stay independent and connected to the community they call home. I know I thanked her earlier, but she wears many hats. Our gratitude to Commissioner Kimberly Corcoran Galante and our incredible Services for the Aging staff. In 2025, Project Independence handled 29,275 service requests from local seniors, 58% of all townwide requests, and a 5.5% increase over the previous year. Memberships grew to 18,527, with 1,029 new seniors joining. Transportation remains a cornerstone. Partnering with local licensed taxi companies, we provided 31,716 rides last year. %72 of these are for medical visits and 28% are for groceries. Since 2009, that amounts to a staggering 473,990 rides. These aren't just numbers. They represent independence preserved and peace of mind for families across North Hempstead. And people notice what works. In 2024, Fortune magazine ranked North Hempstead the 15th best place to live in America, highlighting our dedication to health and wellness. Their words, with a growing portion of Americans caring for both children and aging parents, more people want to live in cities where multi-generational families can thrive. As I like to tell people, Project Independence isn't just a program, it's a promise that our seniors will always be cared for in North Hempstead. And if we're talking about smart, compassionate government that makes life here more affordable, we must highlight the tax receiver's office under Mary Jo Collins. What once was a paper-heavy, outdated office is now a beacon of innovation. Modernization came first. Residents can pay by phone, use a secure after-hours drop box, access an in-office kiosk, and enjoy extended hours. These upgrades reduce delays, improve accuracy, and put government on your schedule. Smarter operations means smarter financial management. By moving funds to higher interest accounts, the town boosted returns, generating millions more for taxpayers. This year, North Hempstead returned $2,115,000 in interest to 13 school districts. That's an 89% increase over 2024 and a 249% increase over prior administrations. Real dollars helping real children, our children. And Mary Jo personally went to the Mineola School Board to get them to raise the low-income citizen exemption threshold, and they did it. How's that for being on a mission? But it's not just about saving money. We also need to grow our local economy. That's why we've reinvigorated business and tourism efforts with new signature events that celebrate our community and attract visitors. With Councilwoman Christine Liu, we launched the annual Dragon Boat Race, a celebration of culture that brought thousands to our waterfront. And I worked with Race Awesome to bring the Great Gatsby Triathlon to North Hempstead, attracting athletes from around the country. These events are more than fun. They're investment in North Hempstead's economic vitality, with every visitor supporting local business and helping to generate town revenue. Again, this is the North Hempstead AAA mindset. That's how we rebuild infrastructure. That's how we cut your taxes year after year. That's how we protect the American dream right here in North Hempstead. That dream is not a collection of streets and buildings. It's safe neighborhoods, strong schools, and families who take pride in their suburban way of life. I believe that's worth protecting. Together with Bruce Blakeman and town supervisors Joe Saladino and John Ferretti, we've defended that quality of life. We opposed efforts to exploit state loopholes that allow marijuana sales just steps from our homes and schools. We also pushed back on Albany's attempts to override local zoning and force high-density buildings into our neighborhoods. These top-down mandates ignore infrastructure limits, strain schools and first responders, and erode neighborhood character. And believe me, our schools and fire departments, the best in the nation, feel this pressure. Albany's constant stream of unfunded mandates forces costs onto local taxpayers, but moves decision-making farther and farther away from the people they impact. We believe in local control because no one knows our neighborhoods better than the families who live here. Just as our founders rejected distant rule, we stand united against Albany bureaucracy to defend our suburbs, protect home rule, and preserve the American dream. Let me be abundantly clear. We reject the self-made affordability crisis Albany has created. And I know I speak for many New Yorkers when I say we need change. My friends, our hometown is defined by balance. Safe neighborhoods coexist with bustling town centers, recreational facilities, and waterfront spaces. There's a shared pride and love for our communities that makes life here not just comfortable, but meaningful. When you elected me your town supervisor 4 years ago, North Hempstead faced serious challenges. Stalled projects, limited investment, and a sense that we were standing still. But I asked you not to settle. I asked you to believe that our best days lay ahead of us, to lock arms and make it happen. And that's what we did together. We rebuilt our infrastructure, strengthened public safety, restored fiscal discipline, and laid the foundation for lasting growth. But we restored something even more important. We restored confidence. Confidence that this town is moving forward. Confidence that local government can work. Confidence that North Hempstead remains a place where families can thrive and local businesses can grow. We didn't wait for change. We created it. We didn't accept decline. We chose progress. And in doing so, we realized that there's no limit to how hard we were willing to work. You know, Thomas Jefferson said, "I'm a great believer in luck. And I find the harder I work, the more I have of it." That is certainly the case in North Hempstead. Please never forget, this town is built on a proud legacy. As we celebrate America 250, we are reminded that our story is inseparable from the American story, a story of perseverance, hard work, and the promise of opportunity for everyone. It is our obligation to deliver that spirit intact to future generations, and it is my job to nurture it so that this corner of this beautiful island remains a place every resident can proudly call home. Be confident, North Hempstead. Be bold and be proud. Thank you for the honor of serving as your town supervisor. May God bless you, your families, the town of North Hempstead, and the United States of America.